Hello everyone, welcome to the first lectures of sports marketing course. In today's class, we are going to give you a brief introduction about sports marketing. First of all, let's look at the agendas for today's course. To begin with, we will review the concepts of sports and also help you to understand what is sports industry, what business this belongs to a sports industries. And also, I'm going to give you some historical backgrounds in terms of how sports marketing was created. And also, we're going to introduce the definition of the sports marketing. In the sports marketing, we have two types of the marketing. One is a marketing sports product. Second one is a marketing through sport. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time to explain these two types of the sports marketing. And then we're going to introduce about sports products and to explain why should we study sports marketing. Okay, so first of all, let's try to review the concept or definition of the sports. I think a lot of class they actually talking about, have a discussion about what is sports or how can we define sports. Right, so one of the definition has been broadly utilized in academia is like they say sports is activity involving the physical exertions and skills in which an individual and team compete against one another for entertainment. Right, as we look at this definition, right, so first of all, sports is an activity that involves some physical exertions and skills, right? And there could be a team sport, could be an individual sport, where that they need to create a competition. People are compete against each others, right? And also in this definition, they also indicate sport is also part of the entertainment. Okay, so when we look at this definition, first of all, they emphasize about this sports is a competition, right? So we know the sport that we're familiar with: football, soccer, basketball, volleyball, baseball, hockey. So those are the sports that we're familiar with, right? Golf, tennis, obviously, right? So we all agree those are sports, right? There are some sports, right, might not be recognized by the general public. So one example I'm showing you here in this picture, chess. Does people consider chess a sport? Right. So let's look at whether chess can fall into this definition. Do you think chess has a competition? Yes, of course, they have competition. Like two players compete against each other, right? So, and also people will say, well, chess, they don't have a lot of physical activity, right? So should we consider them as sports, right? But the fact is, the peak mental condition also require being in a good physical condition, right? So if our players want to compete, the chess game could last for 6 hours, 7 hours. So you need to have a very good physical condition in order to compete, right? So those are considered as a mind sport, right? They use mind to compete against each others. Right? Another would say sport has been discussed by a lot of people whether they should be considered as a sport is e-sport, right? I would say 20 years ago, when people are playing computer games, right, those people are not considered playing sport, right? They're just playing game for fun. But with more and more competition has been organized recently, particularly in the last 10 years, we find out more and more people start to recognize that esports also a sport because they have a competition. It have some sort of levels of physical, exertions and skills, right? And also it's a pretty fun entertainment, right? And the IOC, which is International Olympic Committee, recognized esport is a sport 2 years ago that actually give people the idea, give general public a better idea about, esports is not just about computer game play by the customer for fun. It could also become a very intensive competitions. Okay, so this is about the definitions of the sports. And the second thing we're going to look at is about sports industries. Right. A lot of people that chose a sport management major because a lot of students say, I want to work in sports industries. Before you chose these majors, I think a lot of students might only consider, working for a professional sports team. So this is feeling like I'm working in sports industries. However, sports has a very big, vague concept. Sports industries, the slope is also huge. They cover a lot of different business and industries. If we classify all those business based on the product they make, we think all this business can fall into one of the three categories. Right, the first one is a sports performance segment. Right, sports performance segments are those business. They actually create products that enhance the sports performance and competitions like professional sport, college sport, high school athletics, right? Even the recreational sports sometimes we create some competitions as well, right? So those sport we consider them as a sports performance segment. They fall into sports performance segments. And the second type is called sports production segments, right? Because when we're playing sport, a lot of sport they require us to have the equipments, right? You play tennis, you play golf, you need to have equipments. In addition to equipments, some of the organization they produce sports apparels, right? These companies like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, or New Balance, right? So those a lot of different companies they produce like sports product that make sports possible, right? So those companies we consider them as a sports production segments organizations, right? In addition to the sports performance segments and sports production segments, some of the sports business they are focusing on promotion. They are promoting sport, letting more people to watch the sport, and letting more people to know about the sport, right? So those examples including like ESPN, those media, they are able to deliver sports content to the general public, to the sports fans, to the customers. And also there are some other medias like newspapers, they're covering sports stories, letting people to get to know about what's happening in the sports world. So those are sports performance segments. In addition to the sports media, another big part is like sports marketing agency. Right, one of the examples is IMG. I believe most of you have heard about IMG before, right? IMG is basically a sports marketing agency, right? So they have a lot of different types of products. They help a lot of business, sponsor sports events and those athletes, right? So their job is connect other part of business with the sports organization or sports products, right? So those are sports marketing agencies are also considered part of the sports performance segments, right? So this is how we going to look at sports industry. You find out we have so many different types of companies or business that we consider they are part of the sports industries. Okay, so what is the sports marketing, right? Sports marketing based on Sports Marketing Association's definition. So they defined sports marketing a few years ago, try to make sure everyone have the same understanding about what sports marketing is. So sports marketing is a specific application of the marketing principles and process to sports products and to the marketing of non-sports products through the association of sport. From this definition, they let you know basically sports marketing, right, including two types. One type sports marketing is sports product. We have to promote sports product, right? If we're going to organize an event, we want more people to know about this event. They want more people to watch this event, to participate in the event, to buy the tickets, to come over to watch these events, right? So this is a marketing sports products, right? They also helping some of the non-sports product to create a good association with the sports, right? Sports marketing this term for the first time was introduced was back to 1978. That was a magazine called Advertising Ages. So they divided the activity of the product and the service marketers using sports as a promotional vehicles or sponsorship platforms. And until today, sports marketing are everywhere. When we go to watch a game, we can find a lot of examples that relate to sports marketing. When we watch TV, right, sometimes in our sports program, we can see some athletes and those are products, right? We can watch that commercial on TV too. So those also are like sports marketing examples. Okay, so this is about sports marketing. In the second part of today's topic is we're going to review the history of sports marketing, right? If we say the roots of the sports marketing in the North America could be traced back to 1850s and 1860s, as many organizations started to realize the popularity of the sport and also try to link themselves with sports to enhance their commercial opportunities. One of the earliest examples are the first intercollegiate athletic competitions. A lot of you might have heard this in other courses, right? The first was a college sports competitions took place in 1852. So that was a rowing competition between Harvard and Yale, right? So they had the first intercollegiate athletic competition in the United States, right? We know Harvard is located at Boston, right? And Yale is located in New Haven, right? The two schools, well-known schools, they're located in two different states. But the competition would take place at a lake Winnipesaukee, which is a lake that located in New Hampshire. Right? People will ask why the rowing competition between Harvard and Yale are not taking place at their own, locations, and they chose a different location. It's because the competition was sponsored by a railway company in Boston, right? So that was the first time, and one of the earliest examples of how sports, how like other business started to involve into these sports events, become sponsors. Where the event itself became very successful, right? The enterprises were able to create a very positive impact on the regions, right? And a lot of people start using train for their travelings, and also they help the local hotels become pretty popular at that time, and also bring revenue for the hosting cities. So they give people the idea in how sports event can be utilized to benefit the local community, right? It can also benefit to these different types of businesses. So this happened in 1950s. So in 1960s, another example is we talk about the growth of the baseball in the early 1860s, right? Baseball was invented in the United States at the very beginning. So there are two types of baseball, right? One type of baseball playing in New York, called New York size baseball. Another type of baseball playing in Chicago, called Chicago year baseball, right? So the tobacco company realized the popularity of the baseball, right? They started to partner with these baseball leagues and began using photographers of these teams to help sell their products. So those companies made baseball cards with the picture of the team and the player, inserted them into the cigarette package to help them sell their products, right? So this is a very popular strategy at that time. Right? Think about this happens in about 160 years ago. Like this strategy until today is still really popular, right? People would like to associate themselves with these well-known athletes. The purpose is to help them to sell more products, right? So this is another example that happens in 160 years ago in the US. Later, with the industrial revolutions, after entering the 20th centuries, business, more and more business started to endorse athletes and using their influence to reach their target markets. So one of the example is the Baby Ruth, which is really well-known a baseball player at that time. He was endorsed by Jockey Underwear in 1921. So his image has been featured on the products. They also they try to use these athletes' popularities to sell their products to the bigger audiences, right? So that's one of the example. Another example is in 1930s, marketer of the Wheaties. They create they try to use athletes in sport to sell their product as well. So until today, Wheaties is also using the athletes to promote their products, right? In addition to endorse these athletes, right, they also try to label themselves as the breakfast of champions, right? Think about in what scenario people will use the word champions. Normally in sports, right? So really is try to label or market themselves as the breakfast of champions, right? It's also they try to associate themselves with the sports. At the same time, they are also using a lot of the athletes on their packages. A lot of well-known athletes has been including on their packages, including Michael Jordan's in 1990s. So here is a video here, so you can click on the video to learn about how it is has been utilized by athletes, the teams or particular athletes on their products to help them sell more products to the family homes in the US. So this is happening in the early of the 20th centuries, right? In the first 50 years of the 20th centuries, at that time, the most popular media at that time was radio. Radio was a mainstream media at that time. A lot of games were broadcasted live on the different types of radio channels, right? At that time, live event was not quite widely accessible, right? Due to the fact that, travel was not that easy at that time. It was kind of difficult for people to travel from one place to another places. So live event was not that widely accessible. A lot of people consume sport through the radios. So when you listen to radio programs, obviously they couldn't give you an image, right? So all these games, how they score, they all had, has been described by this commentary, and the way we think about this game is through the descriptions of these commentaries that won't really give you the idea how the goal is scored. So this is one of the issues at that time, and also they started to build up the super brands. One example is Yankee. Yankee was extremely successful at that time, so they became a team. It's not just popular in New York City, but also they built up a fan base across the entire countries. So even until today, Yankee is a very, very good brand, and that their brand recognition is really high. A lot of people wearing their hats, walking on the streets. So this is happened in the first 50 years of the 20th century. So later, in 1950 to 1990s, the televisions became the mainstream channels. In 1950s, more and more people started to watch sport through TV networks. And also the development of the cable TV and local TV offer more platforms to deliver sports content. One big example is ESPN, was founded in 1979. So for the first time, people were able to watch all the sport, right, 24 hours, right? And also there are some other really popular sports programs at that time as well, like Monday Night Football, and they became pretty popular, being produced on the ABC. So those kind of sports programs give people the opportunity to consume more sport. At the same time, is also letting those sports stars become popular because their media coverage is high. People consume them as a great entertainment, so also enhance their value as well. So their salary has also been increased due to their popularities. And sports sponsorships became really, really popular, right? We have to say the big contributions will come from 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Games. The Los Angeles Olympic Games sold the sponsorship to nearly 30 companies in the United States. A lot of companies were using the popularity of the Olympic Games to promote themselves in the United States and even in the entire world. So sponsorships, with the creation of sponsorships, the Olympic Games start making money for the first time. So at the 1984 Games. So that was actually giving marketed the opportunities to find out, okay, that's the new area that we need to step in and try to capitalize on the popularity of the sports, sell our products at the same time. And sports business realize this is the new business model that we can develop, which can help us to maximize our revenue generations. Until today, obviously we have a lot more different platforms that we can consume sport, right? Not just about traditional media, like televisions, radios, right? Internet was invented and social media became popular in the last 15, 16 years. So for all those customers, the way we consume sports also changes. In the past, we were like passive content receivers. So we watch TV. What kind of the content has been broadcast on TV, then we're gonna watch it, right? So now we become active, creative, right? Creators. We can create our own programs, and also broadcast it on YouTube, make it popular. A lot of people come over and watch the games, right? So we become a content creator, right? And also you'll be able to watch multiple different games at the same time, right? So that's kind of fascinating. So in the past, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that's not possible, right? And also for the professional sports team, they started to develop their own media to promote themselves. You find out all those sports teams, they have their own social media where they can create their own content to communicate with their fans directly. Before social media was introduced, right, those all sports teams, the only way they can appear on the media was like the traditional media on TV, right? So now they're able to create their own content, communicate with the fans by themselves, right? And also, in addition to the traditional sport, people start to participate in different types of sport. Fantasy sport enhance people's experience participating in sport, right? And also, like esport also is the same, right? All those MFL, NBA, or NHL, they try to collaborate it with those game companies to create some esport products and that allow people to watch. Particularly during the pandemics, right? COVID-19 pandemics, we find out there are no sports being played. So a lot of companies decided to create esport games that allow people watch the game, consume the game online, right? And also, one more thing is the globalization of sports brands. So globalization is a new trend that gives sports brands the opportunities not just target their local markets, but also they're able to target their markets all around the world. They provide more business opportunities, more revenue generation opportunity too. Right. So this is about the how the media has been involved into sports marketing in the last 23 years. Okay, when we review the histories of sports marketing, we find out there are a lot of factors that impact the growth of sports marketing. Right, the first one is the customer's demand has been increased dramatically in the past few years. When we look at all the sports facilities, we find out sports facilities today are completely different compared to the facilities 100 years ago. So some facilities such as Fenway Parks or Wrigley Fields that has been existing for more than 100 years. But during these 100 years, they have been through a lot of remodels. The purpose for them to keep updating their stadiums is because they would like to enhance fans' customers' experience today, right? To meet their demand today. So when we're watching game today, a lot of people are using cell phones. So we need to provide this high-speed internet to make sure the fans are able to use their cell phone to share this information on their social medias, right? So this is a big difference. The customer demands is a very important driver for the change of the sports marketing. The second thing is we talk about the involvement, the evolutions of the media, right? They enhance the different types of the medias. That really change the way how we consume sports, right? So nowadays we are able to get this most updated information. We get the news, we get a game statistic, right? So the media has actually changed how we watch sports, and different types of media when they were created. Sports organizations, professional sports league, all actively involved with the sports media, right? They try to target the fans, right? When we look at social media, for instance, right, at the beginning was the Facebook, right? A lot of sports organizations started to create their own account on the Facebook, and later we have Twitter, send out short messages. People are using Twitters, And then we have Instagrams, and we send a picture and videos, people using Instagram. And then we have Snapchat, now it's TikToks. A lot of new social media were created. They're providing a new opportunity for sports to promote themselves. And another very big reason is technologies. The advancements of technologies also made sports change how we consume sports. Travel become much easier, so we are able to watch sports that has been taking place in other part of the world on our TV, right? So that also has changed how sports marketings in the past few years. And the last one is about globalizations. So now sports marketers, they're able to sell their product internationally, right? Professional sports league. In the past, they were just domestic sports league. Now they're able to have the best talents for all around the world, to participate in their games. Also allow the foreign investors into their market for the investment. So this is how sports marketing has been changed. When we try to introduce the sports marketing, we talk about we have two types of the marketing. The first one is we try to market sports product to sports customer, and so also we try to market sports and non-sports product through sports, right? The first type is called marketing sports products. We have a lot of different sports products, right? These sports products include, we have spectators of sports events like professional sports games, college sports games, right? So for these kind of sports events, right, we need to market, let fans to know about it, when, where these events are taking place, right? So we have to sell tickets to them, right? We have to think about there are two types of the customers. One type of customers, they're able to buy the ticket and come here to watch the game. But a lot of customers, they are not be able to come and watch the game due to a lot of different reasons. Maybe the ticket are very expensive. Maybe the game is taking place in other area where the travel is difficult. Maybe the game has been playing at the time is not going to be available to them. A lot of different reasons, so they consume the game through media platforms. So there are two different types of customers. When we are developing the market strategy, we have to think about all those different types of the market to be part of these events. The second one is the participation of the sports events venues. So there are a lot of recreational events, right? So we have to let people to know about it. So we need to promote it. Like for instance, Chicago Marathon is one of the top 6 marathon race in the world, right? Every year, about 20,000 runners all around the world come over here to participate in the competition. So for them, they would have to go and think about how we're able to market ourselves, right? That's one example. Another example is a local fitness centers, gyms. We're selling gym memberships, how we generate revenues selling gym memberships. So we need to also come up with the idea how we're able to, maintain our gym memberships, try to generate more revenues, provide them better service, giving them more options, helping them to enhance their experiences. So those are example. The third one is the sports groups and the peers. We talk about when we create sports products, peers, equipments, we also have to market them, sell them, let more people to know about it, right? So those is the example for marketing sports product. We have sports product, we create them, we also need to market them. Second type of sports marketing is called marketing through sport, right? Marketing through sport is talking about some sports product or some non-sports product. They are using sport as a platform to target their audiences, right? One of the example is Coca-Cola. We know Coca-Cola is technically not a sports product, right? It's not sports drink, it's not energy drinks. It's just like a soft drink, right? Nothing to do with sport, but Coca-Cola has been promoting and there's a lot of athletes and also sponsor a lot of different types of sports events. They try to use sports as a platform to reach out to the target audience because a lot of sports fans like drinking Coca-Cola. they would like to consume, so they use this platform to connect them with the fans, right? And also, if you look at these athletes, right, we're using Cristiano Ronaldo as example, one of the most well-known soccer players in the world. You find out he has a lot of endorser or sponsors, right, personal sponsors. Most of these sponsors had nothing to do with sport. Samsung is a phone company, right? KFC, fast food, right, has nothing to do with sports, right? So Emirates is airlines, right? So they also have something related to sports, right? And Nike is obviously sports products. So you find out either sports product or non-sports product, right? They are trying to capitalize on the popularity of the athlete teams or events to promote themselves, become a sponsor, promote themselves. When we talk about marketing through sports, there also are two types of strategy. One type of strategy called traditional strategy. Traditional strategy is talk about we try to incorporate sports into the firm's marketing effort through the implementation of the effective target marketing decisions. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to identify the target markets, and also we try to using 4P, product, price, promotion, and place to promote themselves. Right, this is a traditional strategy. But in addition to traditional strategy, we also have sports sponsorship. Sports sponsorship, we talk about either your sports product or non-sports product. We try to create associations with sports products, right? So could be athlete, could be a team, could be events, could be facilities, right? So the purpose is, we believe a lot of sports fans, they also happen to be the customers of our products. So we try to sponsor them and try to use these associations to increase our brand awareness, and also try to increase our sales, which is very important, right? So these are two types of the marketing sports product and marketing through sports. We spend a lot of time talking about sports products. And here's a question. What is a product? Right? What is a product? How can we define a product? Right? Product is basically a good or service that most closely to meet the requirements of the particular markets and yield enough profit to justify its continued existence. Right? We talk about products that including both groups and service. Right? So what are the differences between groups and service, right? For the groups, so normally there are four things to differentiate the groups and service. Groups, the first one is tangible abilities. Groups are tangible. You'll be able to look at it, you'll be able to touch it, you'll be able to use it, right? I'll give you an example. You're gonna buy a basketball, you play this basketball for like a year, right? So this basketball is existing, tangible, right? You can feel it, you can touch it, you can play it, right? Service is intangible, right? We go and watch your games. The game watching experiences is intangible. We cannot really touch it, we can only feel and experience, right? That's the first difference between goods and service. Second thing is about consistency. Goods normally is very consistent, right? You're gonna buy 10 basketball from one brand. Those basketball, the quality more or less the same. Service are very not consistent, right? It's not very consistent. You go and watch this game today. Tomorrow you're gonna watch the same team play against another opponent, right? The service you'll be receiving are different because the interaction you have are different when you're watching two different games. Goods and service, the third thing difference is subjective. Service is very subjective. You and your good friend, you go and watch the games. You maybe really enjoy these games, but your friends hate these games like hell, right? This could be very subjective because everyone, when you go and watch the games, there are a lot of different things can influence about our experience. Maybe you're watching your favorite team, favorite athlete to play. Obviously, your experience are positive. But if your favorite team and favorite athlete lost their main opponent, you'll be really frustrated. So your experience could be very negative, right? So this experience are very subjective, could be impacted by many different factors, right? Goods and services also, they have a separate. So goods are normally separated. You made this group, and then this group being consumed. Service is when we are consuming the service is being provided to you, right? So this is about the products. So what is a sports products, right? Sports products, they are including both groups and service, or any combination of these two. They are decided to provide a benefit to spectators, participants, and sponsors. I'll give you a couple examples. Right, we can classify those sports products into 4 types. Obviously, there's so many sports products existing. Right, the first one is a sporting event. We go and watch a baseball game. Right, who made this baseball game possible? 2 very important. First one is athletes. The athlete play a game, made this game possible. Second thing is arena, the stadiums. Right, we go and watch the games, we sit in the stadiums, we get that experiences. Right, so athletes sometimes, when we look at products perspective, athletes sometimes they are products, right? Why some people would like to go and watch this game rather than the other game? Because this game has certain athletes. They're appealing, they're well known, they're gonna play good games, right? So they have big fan base, right? So athletes sometimes they are products too, right? They are products too. So those are sporting events. That's one example. Second one is a sporting groups. Right, those including licensed merchandise and equipments. The third type is including personal training. Right, you go to the fitness centers, you receive the personal training. The personal trainers, they're providing you a service, help you become more healthier or more fitter than before. So those are considered sports products. Right, sports instructions. Right, we participate in different types of activities. You go into participate in a yoga class, right? So those instructions also are considered as sports products. One more thing a lot of people would neglect is about sports information, right? When we go and watch sports on TV, either you're watching news or you're just watching live games, or maybe you're just updating these game statistics from different media platforms. So those information are also sports products too, right? And also agency service we explained previously, right? Sports marketing company like IMG, right? They try to help those non-sports organizations using sports as a platform to promote themselves. So those are also the example of the sports products. The last topic we're going to talk about in this course, today's course, is we're going to talk about why should we study sports marketing. A lot of students have already studied marketing before, right? So students might have a question about what made this course unique. What kind of thing we're going to learn from this course would be different from the marketing course I have taken from other professors. So what made sports marketing unique? We're going to look at these 4 areas. Sports products are unique, marketplace is unique, finance is unique, and promotions is unique too. First of all, let's look at sports products. Right. Previously, we introduced about products. We talk about sports products. So what makes sports product unique? We talk about a lot of time sports product, they are service oriented. Right, we have a tangible product, but a lot of time when we talk about let's go and watch sport, right, sports product is very intangible. They are experiential, they are subjective nature. We talked about it previously, right? Service, they are all depends on their experience, right? People are watching sport for different purpose, right? Some people watch sport because they love the sport. Some people watch sport because they have nothing to do. They decide to use that to kill time. Just like when people watching Super Bowl, right? We talk about there are a lot of people watching Super Bowl because they want to watch commercial. They want to know, hey, whether this commercial interesting, right? Some people are interested in watching this 15-minute halftime show, right? They say, hey, who is going to perform today's? Would like to see whether this year's performance better than last year's, right? Some people are more interested in the games, right? So everyone bring their own perspective when they're going watch sport. The main sport become very subjective. Everyone have their own experience, different perceptions. They also create some challenges for the marketer because sports groups is easy for you to match the quality of the product. Experience is difficult for you to examine it. We won't be able to know whether fans enjoy or satisfied with the service provided to them. Okay, so that is the first thing. So make sports product unique is they are very subjective. Second thing is they have a very strong personal and emotional identification. This is related to sports fans. Sports fans has a lot of loyalties. Of course, other industry, other products, they also have a loyal fans. Some people just like all the product made by Apple. Every new product being introduced by Apple, you're gonna go and buy it, right? So there are some Apple fans too, right? Sports fans, they also have a very strong loyalty. So these customers are very interesting, right? When we watch sports, we know we have some of the very good team winning the championship all the time. We also have some team, they don't have a lot of success, but they still have a very loyal fans, right? When you watch English Premier League this year, I kind of interesting. Leeds United, the team was playing at the English Premier League. The last time the team played in the English Premier League was 16 years ago. So which means the team has been playing the second division for 16 years, but there are still so many fans watching the team, although they're no longer playing the highest levels of the competition. This year, when the team being promoted from second division to the Premier League, they will be playing the Premier League next year. Fans are super exciting talking about it. So in sports fans, although some teams are not very successful, sports fans' loyalty can also encourage or trigger these fans to continue to consume the products. So that is the first one. Second one, that's the second one, right? The third one is sports product simultaneously productions and consumptions, right? We talk about groups. Most of the groups, they're being produced first and then being consumed by the customer. I'm gonna buy a bottle of waters. The bottle of water will need to be produced first, right? And then put in the supermarket. I go to buy from the supermarket, and I'm gonna consume the bottle of waters, right? But for the sports products, the games, right? The game is being produced when customers are consuming it. So they're simultaneously being produced and consumed. And also we talk about the games are inconsistent. Right, for instance, you're supporting one particular teams, right? You're supporting Lakers playing really well this year, right? So you think Lakers has LeBron James, they're gonna win a lot of games this year, but they're not gonna win every single game. Although some game they won, right? The process is different, right? The experience are very different. So they're not consistent, unlike other products. They normally are very consistent. You go to buy 10 bottles of the water, they possibly taste the same. Package look the same, right? The quality look the same. And also, what makes sports interesting or unique is sports is unpredictable. That's why people would like to spend 3 hours in front of TV and go and watch the whole games, because you don't know which team will win. Since we cannot really predict the winner of the games, they also create some difficulty for the marketer. So when we try to market sports product, we cannot guarantee to the customer saying, hey, please come over here to watch today's games because I'm going to guarantee your favorite team will win. Now we cannot market the product like this, right? So for the sports marketing, we have to use a different way to make this game become very appealing to the customer, because we cannot guarantee the quality of the products, right? We cannot guarantee today's game is going to be exciting, right? Because we don't know, right? So they create a new challenge for the marketer is we don't know. We cannot use the quality of the games to promote the quality of the games when we try to promote these particular games. This is about sports products. The second thing makes sports marketing unique is the marketplace, right? The really interesting thing in the sports industry is many teams, many organizations that simultaneously compete and cooperate. Right? In other business, it's unlikely for you to see Nike, Adidas say we are going to collaborate together. Apple, Samsung, they say, hey, we're going to collaborate together to introduce a new product to the markets, and then we share the revenues, right? You have never happens in other business, right? But in sports business, particularly sports performance business, right? The team compete against each other, also collaborate with each others, right? So one example is like Lakers players against Golden State Warriors, right? They compete against each other. They try to win the games. They also collaborate with each other because they try to promote this game together, make this game become very influential, very popular, very appealing, right? So the business they need to collaborate together as well, right? And the second thing is a lot of time customer will consider themselves as expert, right? You find out there are a lot of sports fans. They think they know a lot of their teams, so they can talk a lot. They think and they provide a lot of advice to the coaches, let them know what they have to do in order to help team to win, right? So a lot of customers they think themselves as experts. They also create some difficulty for the marketer because the customer they think they know a lot about these products. So to market this particular product, the marketer need to know better how they're able to associate these products with these expert fans. And the third things to make marketplace unique is the demands tends fluctuate widely, right? The game attendance could be determined by many factors. Later this semester, we're going to talk about it, right? They could be impacted by what? Weather, could be impacted by opponent, could be impacted by the time of the day, the gameplay, athletes' performance, team's results, travel distance. They will be impacted by so many different factors, right? So the attendance is hard for us to anticipate sometimes. The next one is sports finance is also unique, right? They make marketing pretty unique. For other business, all the revenue we generate are coming from key products, core products. Sports events are different. In addition to the ticket revenues, right, we also generate revenues from our broadcasting rights. Right, we generate revenue from selling merchandise products. We generate revenues from selling the parking spaces. Right, so for a sports event, we generate revenues from multiple different sources. Right, product itself only contribute relatively small in comparison with the total cost paid by the customers. Right, for the customer itself, right, so in addition to buy tickets, when you go watch the game, sit there for 4 hours, 3 hours, of course you're thirsty because they won't allow you to bring any waters, right? So you have to go and buy some waters, you have to buy some snacks, because sometimes the game could be boring. You have to go and buy some snacks, right? So you're gonna buy a particular clothes to support your favorite teams, or maybe you're gonna watch Olympic Games. This is kind of like your lifetime experience, right? So you would like to buy some merchandise products to make sure that they can help you to refresh your memory many years ago when you refresh, when you think about this experience, right? So, as sports fans, we're not just buying core products, but we also spend a lot of money buying a lot of other products. This is called product extensions, right? So we contribute more revenues to the sports event, not just from the ticket sales. So one last thing that makes sports marketing unique is promotion is unique. Right, sports teams, they're different, right? They have attracted a lot of media's attentions, right? A lot of media members are following particular teams. They've got widespread media exposures. When they got a lot of media exposures, the good or bad, right? Good thing is the team performed well, they got more positive media exposures. But if the team performed poorly, the media will spend a lot of time analysis of why the teams not perform as well as we expected. When they have scandal, the scandal could be massive, right? So having a widespread media exposure is a double-edged sword, right? So those also media and sponsors emphasize a lot on these celebrities, well-known athletes, right? So those well-known athletes, right, they can really attract people's attentions, can really help the team generate a lot of revenues. Okay, so this is promotions. What makes sports promotion unique? So in this course, we give you the brief introduction of what sports marketing is. So we basically talk about a couple of different things. We talk about two types of sports marketing: marketing sports product and marketing through sport. We talk about differences between product and service. We also talk a little bit about sports customers, right? We talk a little bit about what makes sports customer unique. Sports fans have a lot of loyalties. So go home, you can go and watch read the first chapters of the textbooks, and also get a better understanding about what is sports marketing. Okay, that's it for today. If you have any question about today's lectures, please shoot me an emails. All right, I'll talk to you next time.